Everything you know about Troy is missing. What if I told you the most famous war in history is missing most of its story? Almost everyone has heard of the Iliad, Achilles, Hector, the wooden horse. But here's the shocking truth. The Iliad doesn't tell the beginning of the Trojan War. It doesn't tell the end. It doesn't even include the fall of Troy. In fact, the Iliad covers only about 50 days, during a war that lasted 10 years. So where did the rest go? The answer is one of history's greatest mysteries. Ancient Greece once possessed an entire collection of epic poems called the epic cycle. Together, these poems told the complete story of Troy. From the wedding that started everything, to the final survivors sailing home. But today, almost every one of those masterpieces has vanished, burned, lost, forgotten. All we have left are tiny fragments and short summaries copied centuries later. Imagine if someone destroyed every Marvel movie, except Infinity War. That's essentially what happened to Greek mythology, and the missing stories completely change everything you thought you knew. Everyone says the Trojan War began because Paris kidnapped Helen, but that's only the final domino. The lost poem called Cypria revealed the real beginning, and it starts years before Paris ever reached Sparta. According to the story, the earth herself begged Zeus for help. Humanity had become too numerous. Kings, heroes, and warriors filled the world. Zeus supposedly decided that one enormous war would reduce mankind's population. The Trojan War wasn't just an accident, it may have been part of a divine plan. Then came the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. Every god was invited, except one, Eris, the goddess of discord. Insulted, she threw a single golden apple into the celebration. It carried only 4 words: to the fairest. Immediately, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite began fighting over who deserved it. Zeus refused to choose. Instead, he gave the impossible decision to a Trojan prince named Paris. Each goddess offered him a reward: power, wisdom in war, or the most beautiful woman alive. Paris chose beauty, Helen, and with that single choice, the fate of Troy was sealed. But Cypria contained countless adventures almost nobody knows today. Early battles, failed peace negotiations, heroes arriving from every corner of Greece, even Achilles, trying to avoid the war entirely without Cyprius. The famous Trojan story begins in the middle. Achilles didn't die in the Iliad. Here's something that surprises almost everyone. The greatest Greek warrior never dies in Homer's Iliad. The poem ends while Achilles is still alive. His most famous moment, his legendary death, came in another lost epic, the Aethiopis. This forgotten masterpiece introduced new enemies after Hector had fallen. Among them, Penthesilea, the Amazon queen. She arrived to save Troy, leading an army of fearless female warriors. The battle became legendary. Achilles killed her. But ancient writers claimed the moment she removed her helmet, Achilles was overwhelmed by her beauty and instantly regretted what he had done. Then came an even greater threat. Memnon, king of Ethiopia, a warrior said to rival Achilles himself. The duel between these two heroes was considered one of the greatest battles in Greek literature. Achilles won, but victory came with a terrible price. Soon afterward, Paris fired the arrow, guided by Apollo himself. It struck Achilles in the only place he could die. The heel became immortal, but almost nobody remembers that this iconic moment was never written by Homer. If you're enjoying these forgotten stories of Greek mythology, make sure to like the video and subscribe. There are dozens of lost legends that almost disappeared from history, and we're bringing them back one myth at a time. The wooden horse was never in the Iliad. When people picture the Trojan War, they picture one thing: the giant wooden horse. But here's the twist. That story isn't in the Iliad either. It belonged to another lost masterpiece, the Little Iliad. After Achilles died, the Greeks nearly fell apart. Who would inherit his divine armor? Odysseus or Ajax, the greatest warrior after Achilles? The contest destroyed Ajax's mind. Driven insane, he attacked livestock, believing they were his enemies. When he regained his senses, the shame became unbearable. He took his own life. One of Greece's greatest heroes never died in battle. Then came Odysseus's greatest invention, the wooden horse. Instead of defeating Troy with strength, he defeated it with deception. The Greeks appeared to sail away. The Trojans celebrated. Against repeated warnings, they dragged the enormous horse inside their city. That single decision has ended one of history's greatest civilizations. Fire consumed Troy. The city fell. Kings died. Temples burned. Families vanished forever. And yet, the most famous ending of the Trojan War was never part of Homer's greatest poem. Winning the war was the easy part. Most movies end. When Troy burns, the Greeks celebrate. Everyone goes home. But the lost poem called Nostoi tells a completely different story. For many heroes, the nightmare was only beginning. The gods were furious. Temples had been desecrated. Sacred places destroyed. Priests murdered. Divine laws ignored. The sea itself became their punishment. Ships disappeared into storms. Kings drowned. Others landed in completely unknown lands. Some never returned home at all. One king, Memnon, actually survived the journey, only to be murdered inside his own palace. His wife, Clytemnestra, and her lover were waiting. The greatest commander of Greece won the war, crossed the sea, and died in his own bathtub. Meanwhile, Odysseus' journey became so extraordinary that it eventually became its own masterpiece, the Odyssey. Without Nostoi, we miss the tragic truth. For many Greek heroes, victory at Troy was the beginning of their downfall. How do we know any of this? Here's the biggest mystery of all. If these poems disappeared, how can historians know what they contained? The answer feels almost impossible. The originals are gone. Not a single complete manuscript survives. Instead, their stories were preserved. Like scattered puzzle pieces, ancient scholars quoted individual lines. Later writers summarized entire poems. Roman authors mentioned scenes. Mythographers compared different versions. Tiny fragments survived on damaged papyrus, sometimes just one sentence, sometimes only a single word. Imagine trying to reconstruct an entire movie using random screenshots or a few reviews and several people describing scenes from memory. That's exactly what historians have done. Every generation discovers another clue. A fragment here, a quotation there, piece by piece. The lost world slowly comes back into focus, but most of it is probably gone forever. The greatest story you'll never read. Think about that for a moment. The Iliad became one of humanity's greatest masterpieces. The Odyssey shaped Western literature, yet both were originally only 2 chapters of a much larger story. The complete Trojan saga once stretched across multiple epic poems, covering decades through hundreds of heroes more and countless legendary battles. Today, most of that universe has vanished. Not because people stopped loving it, but because history is surprisingly fragile. One library burns, one manuscript isn't copied, one empire collapses, and entire worlds disappear forever. The epic cycle reminds us that history isn't just about what survives. It's also about everything that didn't. Somewhere in the ancient world, people once sat around fires, listening to stories that no living person will ever hear again. And perhaps the strangest thought of all, the greatest Greek epic, might not be the Iliad. It might be one that humanity lost forever.